noted. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll get it next time.
Cool.
Hey, you're on Facebook.
All right, we are live. We're on Facebook Live.
I'm the disembodied voice. And hand.
Ben and I are a little creepy.
Scoot over a little.
Reaching out in the middle of the
He
screen.
scooted away from me.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We can get over this way now.
I think that's the creep factor.
We'll get 3 in the shot at
All
least.
right, yeah.
There we go.
You know?
That's so crazy. Look how cozy y'all are.
So we're waiting for the next song to end. This is Welcome Home with Derek and Patrick and Connie and Ben Tinsley. And our special guest today is Jared Latigo. And we'll get a really great introduction here for him once we go live on the radio. This is always a fun time when we get to sit around and stare at the camera and
And each other.
yeah.
I know, right?
The
Good
awkward
day.
part of being
Did y'all get
live.
rained on today?
We did.
You know, my grandson said, Mimi, I was told that when it rains, that's God crying. I said, they're tears of joy, Brocky.
Yeah, he must be really emo because it's
I know. He says, why is he so sad?
It was a sad day for sure.
Sad day.
sad day.
That's so funny.
Let's see.
I think we've been dry for too long though. We needed the
it.
water.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
lake
it
levels
was-
are going down.
Yeah.
Oh my, yeah, but you know when you get up for a 7 o'clock show and you hear the special splash, it's like it's saying "Go to sleep, don't get up." You know. Hey, I was going to tell you.
All right, y'all ready?
Oh, I'll tell you later.
1, 2, 3, go.
Hello, welcome to Welcome Home with Derek and Patrick here on JoCo Radio. I'm Derek Taylor, and I'm here with my co-host Patrick McCarroll. And he's, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, he's the one with the big
Creepy
hand.
hand in the picture.
And we've got Connie with us today.
Hey, Connie Little here. That's amazing.
Connie
Connie.
Little, yay.
96, that's crazy.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
And then, anyone know this guy at the very end?
I'm bald. I'm Ben Tinsley. What's up?
Ben Tinsley's joining us today, and our special guest today is Jared Latigo with the Latigo Life. Really glad to have you on today, Jared. Thank you for joining.
Sure, absolutely. Happy to be on.
So when we do this, when we came up with the idea for this radio show, we wanted it to be exciting and be about people and not necessarily about just the real estate statistics and the real estate market, because that's so boring. But the story that Jared has to tell, with me, the way I started to learn about him started with real estate, and we had known each other from church, and just like every other great client that I've gotten, just about, they've all come by referral. And I got a phone call from Jared, and Jared, you want to tell him why you called me?
Well, our story kind of starts back when we got into the whole Dave Ramsey program several years ago. Started paying off a bunch of debt and kind of working toward, I guess, kind of the lifestyle that we wanted. And we got to the point where we had paid off everything, and we were like, yeah, this is great. We've got, we owe $100,000 on our house now, and I just didn't really want that hanging over me. So basically at that point, we're like, okay, we need to make a major change here. And my wife was kind of overwhelmed. She was working part-time and then obviously trying to keep the house and that kind of stuff. And I've freelanced my whole life, so it's, our schedule worked where we were always able, one of us was home with the kids or something, but as we started, having more kids, we got to 2, and we were like, okay, this is getting really kind of stressful, running the house and all this kind of stuff. So that's when we were like, yeah, let's sell the house and let's downsize, and we can build something, mortgage free and not have any debt. And so that was kind of where it started. And so I talked to Derek, and I was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. And that was kind of the first steps in this process that we're going through now.
So, as with the majority of my first consultations with a home seller, I start to ask them questions about their current loan that they have on their house, that kind of thing. And do you remember what interest rate you had? This came to me after we talked this morning.
I actually had a really low interest rate. We had just refinanced 2 years before, and we were at 2.75 on a 15-year note.
So he's calling me and saying, I've got a very affordable house at an incredibly affordable rate, which we would, Patrick, when's that going to come back?
Maybe never.
Never, ever?
Maybe
right?
never. Yeah, maybe never, ever.
And he wants to sell it, and I want to help him. And so my advice went straight to, I would love to sell your house and help you with that, but do you really want to do this? And I think I might have asked you that several times.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this has got to be something that he's led to do, because it seemed like that interest rate was unbelievable. The payment was great. The house was wonderful. So,
yeah, it wasn't so much that as the fact that we just weren't able to do the things that we wanted to do with our family and to work the way that we wanted to work. And my wife wanted to stay home with the kids and homeschool and that kind of stuff, and it just wasn't going to happen, having, me freelancing and just, working the way that we wanted to. It just, you can't have it all. So, come to find out now that we downsized and we kind of simplified things, that we have a much simpler life than we ever did at that point, and we actually have more than we thought we did.
So had you already sold the car at the time?
No,
Tell them what you sold.
So you're going full throttle with downsizing.
Everybody gets mad at me at this part. So, because when I was 14, my parents bought a '68 Camaro for me, and it was fairly redone. I mean, it was pretty top notch.
You were about to say you sold it, didn't you?
Yeah, we did sell that, but it was like 4 years in the making of me and my wife talking about that. It was not an easy decision. So,
Did you cry that day? A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I kind of feel like crying right now.
But I always said that I would never sell it for an amount that I would, regret. And I don't regret it. And $10,000 of that dollars is sitting in my house right now that's paid off. So, it was a good spend, or it was a good spend of the money from the investment that the car brought us. So,
what did you get? What did you get to replace it? What type of automobile?
Well, that was actually our third car.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it was not a daily driver. I didn't have time to mess with it. That was one of the reasons, that it was okay to get rid of it. It was like it was sitting there kind of deteriorating, and it actually went to this guy that he redid motorcycles, but his wife had part of her leg was amputated like the year before that, and due to some illness or something. And so he bought it for her to kind of fix up and let her drive it, because she'd gone through so much, and he was going to she'd always wanted a '68 Camaro, and so it went to someone that's going to take care of it.
That's a good story.
Yeah,
that's a nice story.
It was awesome.
I withdraw my desire to cry.
You can still shed a tear or two. It's not bad.
So that's kind of where our journey begins. We get the house listed, and we put it up for sale, and the market's pretty good. And we go under contract, and they did some inspections. Came back that there may possibly be some foundation problems with the house.
Yeah, that was we weren't expecting that. So we had somebody came look at it the first day. I think it was our first showing, I think, and then they were like, "We're really interested in this." We had like 3 or 4 showings that first day, I think. This was when, the market was on the way up. It's not what it, what it was.
What year was this?
2000. What was that? 2014.
14. I think it was 14.
Yeah. So, but anyways, they actually put an offer the next day, and we accepted and all that. Well, then during their whatever that phase is, I don't know.
The option period.
Yeah, that one. So during that, they said, hey, we got the inspection back, and it's got some foundation problems. So they pulled out at that point. And then we had to go get the engineer?
We had to get a structural engineer's report.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a foundation issue or a suspected foundation issue, the 2 things you can do is you can go directly to a foundation repair company, and you can ask them to give their opinion. But the best thing to do is to get an actual structural engineer's report.
Mm-hmm.
And the structural engineer has no financial gain in you doing repairs or not. So you know that number, then that opinion, is the one that you want to go with. Plus, you're going to need that to do repairs anyway, so you might as well do it up front. So we get the report back, and there was a 4-inch drop from the front to back.
It was quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a 4-inch drop from the front to back, and the structural engineer stated that there was absolutely nothing wrong with the foundation.
Right.
The house was built on a slant.
Yeah, which was strange.
It was, yeah.
Granted, it was on the side of a hill, so I guess it's a high possibility.
In a neighborhood known for foundation problems.
Mm.
And so
but there was not one single crack or door that didn't shut in that house. It was solid.
So when the first buyer was attached, was this through just a home inspection that somebody came back and said that? So if there's no cracks, no foundation, you're not like leaning to the side when you're walking from the kitchen to the living room. Where did they find it?
Their inspector just randomly decided he was going to measure it.
Yeah, so it was,
Oh wow!
I almost never see an actual home inspector go out and measure elevations, changes in elevation. So you have to have a special machine to do that.
Right.
And this home inspector actually had the machine, which meant he should have known how to use it, which I think he did. He measured it correctly.
Yeah, it was correct. Because
Right,
the engineer said it was. So.
But he didn't know how to translate the information. It was information that he received, but
Yeah.
he couldn't translate and turn that into an actual decision.
Yes.
It scared the buyer away to the point where even after we showed them that that there was nothing wrong with the foundation, that it was functioning as it should be, they still decided not to purchase the house.
Right.
So, one of the things about this, I mean, it wasn't a mansion. It was a beautiful little home. It wasn't a mansion. It wasn't my biggest commission, but I feel like this is one of my biggest wins because I had, at that time, another investor group that was buying houses in town, and they wanted to look at 2 of my other listings, and I said, look, got together with my other sellers and said, look, can I throw this one in the mix and just kind of use it as leverage to help them buy it? And this investor group was buying at full list at a time when almost nobody else was. They were buying these for rentals. And anyway, so we got to get 2 other houses plus Jared sold for full list price and all cash and no problems. I mean, it was just it was almost God was moving through me in making this happen. So it's a really amazing.
That's a bit of a coup. I mean, yeah, it's great, but I mean, that's how, I guess, out of the ordinary is it to land everything like that? I mean, it sounds like you just had a perfect.
Things like that'll happen, but they don't usually all happen with this one kind of convergence where the timing is always there. And so the timing was perfect on this. And so I celebrate my victories not by my commission checks, but by the number of families that I've helped. And so now I'm like, okay, great. I just helped Jared out of a great little house at an interest rate that he'll never see again. And and I'm still, okay, so what's the rest of Jared's story? And that's where the story gets really interesting, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you asked me.
So we got some profit out of it.
Yeah, so we actually profited. We were there 6 years. We ended up profiting about $32,000 out of the house, which was a pretty substantial amount for us at the time. And then we were able to take that plus some savings we had, and plus I actually had, several jobs come in at the end of that year that were pretty profitable for me business-wise, and that kind of cash flowed the rest of it. So we were able to pretty much, we did pay off the house that we were building, cash flowed that. It cost us about $65,000 to get, move-in ready, and we were actually very fortunate to, my in-laws live out on Renfro, and that's where we're at now, of course, and we'd been looking at land, and we were like, okay, looking out in the country, seeing what we could afford, I want to buy an acre or 2 or something, and then if I have to rent for a year to save up some more money, whatever, but I'm going to build this, debt-free. And so they came to us and they're like, look, we've got, they have 4 acres. They're like, we've got some extra land. It's going to be y'all's eventually anyway. It's, family land. You guys can build on it if you want. And so I was like, all right. So we decided we'd go that route. My father-in-law was a contractor, so it was, he's a framer rather. So it was just really, him saying, all right, well, I'll just walk next door and build this house, So that's when we went. We actually built a metal building, and we had it done by a company here in Burleson. And they did engineered foundation and all that, built the metal, and then we just went on the inside and kind of framed it all out, finished it out just like a regular house. And it's a small house. It's 1,000 square feet. We got 2 rooms in it and everything we need. So
you can always add on to it if you need to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Well, and the neat thing about it is, if it's kind of hard to explain, but if you haven't looked, look on YouTube and go to YouTube. I don't know what.
It's Latigo Life. Yeah, everything operates under Latigo Life right now.
So yeah, go to Latigo Life on YouTube,
okay.
and you can see, number one, the most photogenic family that is on YouTube right now.
Yeah, I wish my wife was here. She just doesn't do things like this. So.
I know.
Well, Adrian
One
Barnes
T?
says hello.
Oh, Adrian, yeah, she's a
One
good friend
T?
of ours. She's a
Huh?
copywriter.
One T.
Latigo Life.
Latigo.
Life.
Life.
Okay, so we can bring a little bit of home ownership financial perspective into this. So when you bought the house, how much ballpark figure, do you remember what you invested, the check that you wrote to get into the house?
For us?
Yeah. How much did it cost you to get in?
Like I said, the build for us was...
No, the home that you sold, I'm sorry.
Oh, the home we sold. Yeah, so that home was about... That was $120,000 was what we paid for it initially. And then, of course, we sold it 6 years later for $142,000, I think, or something like that.
But when you bought it, what was the check you wrote to get in? Through down payment,
Oh.
cost associated. Do you remember how much that was?
Nothing.
$10,000 maybe?
I didn't write anything. They had this really cool thing that was like first-time homebuyer creative financing. And it was like, all right, we just walked into a house for nothing.
So you bought a house for nothing,
It
and
was
you net
ridiculous.
sold it for $32,000 profit.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was. We honestly didn't know what we were getting into when we bought the thing. I mean, we were young and didn't have a clue about finances. And if I had to go through it again, I would know more for sure. Would I go through it again? I don't know. I feel like I would, because it definitely taught us a lot to have to go through that process and learn, to be able to get where we are now.
But-
So
Well,
Yep.
upon examination of Latigo Life, while you indeed sized down, apparently you also married up.
yes, I did.
Yes.
She's quite the beauty.
She's way out of his league.
Way out of your league, pal.
My brother-in-law told me that a long time ago. He was like, both of us married up in our families. I said, yeah, for sure. So.
Well, you're a lucky man.
So I know where you're going with that, Patrick, because you're a data nerd like me, right? So we want to talk about data and how that affects people's life. So you're probably over there trying to crunch the return on investment of zero to hit.
Well,
what took
I
out
was
of it.
thinking even put in $10,000, and even then it would be a 30% return on investment. So I mean that's zero.
Yeah.
So that's if you think about it, how many times you ever bought a stock for nothing and you walked away with $32,000?
That's true.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
I wouldn't
That's
mind trying, but that would be awesome.
I mean, you both
amazing.
absolutely, but you
Yeah.
got to invest something to create a return on investment. So
Right.
that's pretty nuts. But the really cool part about Jared's story that we're not really honing in on is it sounds like you made a decision, which is kind of what our team operates on a daily basis. Is the majority of Americans live off of their finances dictate their life.
Yeah.
Meaning, like I can only go out to eat when I've got money left over. Their family made a decision on our life is going to dictate our finances,
Yeah.
and completely turn the spectrum on. We're going to decide upon we're building a life
Yeah.
based upon what we want it to look like, and we're going to build it financially, and this is kind of where we want to go. We don't want to have all this debt. We want to live small so I can have the job I want, so my wife can stay home. So that's kind of cool. Is their life is deciding their finances versus their finances deciding their life.
Well, and that's reflected. This stuff's great. These
very cool.
YouTube. I mean, this is like stuff you'd see in a show, a regular show. I mean, seriously, this is awesome. And I mean I guess the discipline that must be involved in this is. I mean, surely there's a point where you're like going, too much work. I mean. How do you do it?
I've freelanced my whole life, and I've been in marketing my whole life. So, it's one of those things that's like, I try to dabble in a lot of different things so that I can figure out what's going to work, and then I do more of that. And, like I said, I've been in business marketing for a long time, and it's never been extremely lucrative for me. It's always got us by, But, I'm starting to realize that some of the things that we are, that's a bigger part of our life, rather, like for instance, a YouTube channel. Now that YouTube is just an outlet for us, it's not necessarily like the means to an end. But I'm looking at it going, okay, that's actually working over there. So what can I do to, kind of help that along, and let's see what comes of this. Because at the end of the day, I've always been very, involved with my family, and we've always been a very close-knit, family. And we like to do things together far more than most people are comfortable with, that we've come into. And
You're living in 1,000 square feet together.
yeah,
kinda
and
defines
I
that
got
there.
3 kids, so it's like, it's one of those things where, people a lot of times look at it and go, I just couldn't be around my family that much, and I wonder why you have a family if you're not around them,
Yeah.
But
wow, that's a wow.
I mean,
yeah.
people have told me that. I mean, it's not uncommon, and so I get it. things are
Your
stressful.
story
I
would
get
spark a lot of.
But and I think that's why it has.
totally.
Yeah. So point being is like you're right that we wanted to have a certain lifestyle and we felt really convicted to go to that lifestyle, and so we just had to make those changes that were sacrifices, like selling the Camaro and that kind of stuff to get there.
When was when you know in your heart that you were doing this? I mean, when the first spark happened. I mean, how old were you? I mean, when it first was like a crazy idea that
as far as like
all of this. When can you trace it back to?
Well, I mean, kinda. So, I guess in a way, it starts. Our life actually started. We were high school sweethearts, so that actually started senior year, and we've just always been kind of that close ever since. We just kind of started dating, and there was never an option not to. But before that, I had gone through some surgeries when I was in middle school with a heart condition, and so I was able to. It detoured my life from the path I was going, which was a lot of sports and that kind of stuff, and got me on more of the computer kind of path, which I've been involved with my whole life. And so I think that's kind of a pivoting point where I got really, really angry with God, honestly, and I was like, I'm supposed to be playing sports in high school, and now I'm not, and so I pivoted to unknowingly rather to the kind of technology world, and that's kind of when I got into. I mean, I was building websites for companies when I was 13 years old, so I mean, it's not. Wow. It's just always been something that I've always done things on my own, and it's. So
you kind of use that experience to kind of build on, and.
Yeah, it's kind of been organic, It's just kind of happened, I guess.
So what was the defining moment of 2013? Probably you probably. I mean, that's about when
that was my wife
started to kind of come together. Was there something particular that happened where you kind of looked at each other at the kitchen table
as
and
far
said,
as like the
we've
downsizing?
Got to be debt free. Like we.
So the debt free actually came 2009. Okay, 2010. My son was a year old, and we were about to have a birthday party for him. And the weekend of his birthday, our air conditioner broke and literally drained the last $1,500 we had in our bank account. And so we had been kind of exploring this idea. We had some friends of ours that were talking to us about Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace, and for about a year, I guess. And we finally jumped on the bandwagon with that. And it took us about 14 months from that point of not going out to eat, not getting your hair cut, like not doing anything.
It's a complete sacrifice.
Yeah,
I don't know if
totally.
A lot of people understand it.
It's all in. I mean, there's no.
You're letting everything go.
We totally sacrificed. I mean, for a good. You're gonna go that way with it. There you go. We totally made that huge sacrifice for about 14 months, and then even beyond that. But that was the debt-free point. We paid off $32,000 in 14 months, and we weren't making a whole lot. I mean, we were making maybe $50,000. So it was not an easy road by any means. But that taught us a lot, and then it obviously put us down this path. And I think that's why people have jumped on board with the story and the journey. And so
3 kids?
Yes.
What are the ages?
8, 4, and 2.
So we're living a life of debt free. What's different? What's different afterwards than what it was like before?
It's really nice to not have to make a payment every month. That's the best thing. And
do you feel like a hippie?
I guess if that's what hippies felt like. I don't know.
No.
I wasn't born until the 80s, so I'm not 100% sure. So
a Hollywood hippie. No, I'm just saying. It must be relaxing. You're talking about heart problems when you're younger. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that gives people heart problems it's in reverse. So not having that, you must be kind of chill.
Yeah, it's a dramatic story. I mean, you're one step away from like having your own garden out there and just not even needing Kroger anymore.
Yeah, we're working toward that. Right now, I've just got a keyhole garden. I don't have a big thing. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's a much more stress-free life in terms of finances. I mean, there's obviously stresses with raising kids and that kind of stuff, and you're not going to get away from that. And I don't want to, but it's one of those things that like you just. If I could ever tell anyone, and I preach this to anyone that asks us about this, my wife is like 120% better at finances than I am. I'm really, really good at spending all of our money, and she's really good at not.
We
So-
share the same
Yeah.
personalities. it
We
sounds
all
like.
do.
Yeah. So, she's been the one to get us through all this stuff, honestly, and, I give her huge props for, making sure that we're staying on track because
Does it spare her those moments? Because, I mean, I give my wife a lot of uh-oh moments with the finances myself, so.
yeah, she's had to learn a lot. She's, dealing with someone who's a freelancer and kind of works on his own. It's been hard on her. So she's finally kind of given it up now, and she's like, you know what, it's gonna work out. We don't have any debt, so we'll be okay. So
Well, and it's given you the freedom to explore.
yeah, absolutely.
And now that you've kind of gotten that out of the way, what is it opening up that I'll never see because there's no way I'm ever going to do this. But
Yeah.
I mean, what's out there for you
Never
now?
say never.
That's true.
Yeah, don't say never. What's out there for me? I mean, like I said, I've always dabbled in a lot of things, and the recognizing where our story's going, like on YouTube and that kind of stuff, is kind of promising in terms of people jumping on board with it. And we've already had lots of people coming to us asking us for the floor plan and asking us to consult with them on this about how they start down this path and that kind of thing. So where I've been in marketing and business consulting my whole life, I kind of foresee some sort of life change consulting kind of stuff, and we'll see what happens with it. But
So your family got featured on.
it was called Go Downsize. That is when it's a big channel. They're out of Denmark actually, and I reached out to them. This is my marketing mind coming out, and I was like, hey, you guys do features on small homes and stuff. Would you like to have us? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. So we shot a bunch of video. They edited it and put it up on their channel. They had 50,000 subscribers. And, so that video actually went viral. I think it's like their number 3 video now. It's got almost 900,000 views on it.
Wow.
And so that's where most of our subscribers came from, and kind of kicked us over that 1,000 point on YouTube, which is a huge hurdle for most channels to get
So
over.
Denmark.
If
Wow.
people want to see that, they Google Go Downsize.
Go Downsize is their channel, yeah, and then ours is Latigo Life. So
Okay.
That's Hamlet territory. That's that's
So, yeah,
awesome.
I mean, and that was the feature was in August, so they've gotten to almost 1 million views since August.
So like a magazine feature with
That's
story and photos, or
it was a full like our story kind of thing. I mean, we shot a bunch of video, basically shot our house, talked about different pieces of the house and that kind of thing, and talked a little bit about living debt free and that kind of thing. And of course you get if you go read the comments, we're the most horrible people on the planet, for the way we live and that kind of stuff. But
you're gonna
Really?
overall,
haters.
oh yeah, for sure.
Which means you're on the right path. Because
Right,
the
yeah.
more haters you get, the more right you are.
Right?
Well, it's funny because, if you sort by, like, the newest comments, most of the comments, the vast majority of them are really promising, really good comments. It's just the ones that, stand out are always, like, the negative, where you've got those 20% that's just kind of hard.
So help us with what are some of the negative comments look like? What are they?
Well, the biggest thing that people harped on was the fact that we all sleep in the same room, and I think that really hit a nerve with a lot of people.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, the hippie thing.
Yeah, I guess we kind of are. So I don't know, but anyways, that just didn't sit well with people, and they,
Really?
But
there's
that's only because they're concerned about your intimacy.
yes, that came up a lot. So
Yes.
But your kids are all cutie pies, and I mean, you're still in
Oh.
that snuggle stage. I mean,
yeah,
It doesn't matter.
it's,
People want to criticize.
yeah,
Well,
if they want to.
they do, and
Well,
you got those people coming behind them, and they're like, oh, everybody's just being jealous, ignore them, that kind of stuff. And so that's what.
That's what they did in the Pioneer days, though.
Yeah, I'm going, you know what? Most people until the last, 50 years didn't have their own room. Like,
Yeah.
this is not like a... we're actually not... We have a bigger house than most people had in the 50s. I mean, this
Yeah,
is...
they must not have watched Little House on the Prairie.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I mean-
what about all those people that are going to that tiny house nation?
Yeah.
You
Oh, I'm
know?
sure they get the
Those-
same criticism. Living in an RV
Like
or something.
300, or
Yeah.
300 square feet. Really?
Real fast about Little House on the Prairie. They did a remake of it a few years ago.
And it's a bigger house.
Oh my gosh!
Did they separate rooms?
Well, for one thing, they didn't put it in a town. It was literally on the prairie, and they had stuff like Pa Ingalls was mauled by a bear, so the girls had to find a way to save him from the bear. It was tough. It was awesome. So, and I forget. And
What does that have to do with them sleeping in the same?
well, no, I'm sorry. I wanted to share that. It's just such a great.
You just really wanted to talk about Little House.
I do, man. It's,
No. So
Farmer
if,
Boy.
Yeah, if you have Hulu, go look up Little House on the Prairie. I
There you
didn't
go.
watch it.
No, but what I do want to do is I want to see your story thing. Do you know the blog on that? And maybe we can put it on there too if people want to read about it. Is it still online?
The best way to look at it is on that YouTube channel. It's all.
Oh, you
on
have it there? Okay.
Yeah, there's.
Don't do that right now.
Okay. All right. That's
All
right.
right. So
No.
I'm curious because so many people are downsizing. How is that affecting y'all's business based on realtors and mortgagers?
You know, it doesn't affect at all because the greatest mistake that a buyer makes in regards to buying a house when they start with the mortgage company is the most dreadful words that we hear in our team are, "I'm calling for you to tell me how much I qualify for." That is the most dreadful statement that we hear, because the reality is you don't have to get nearly as aggressive as Jared's family did, but you still want to live comfortably. That's the goal of it. And if you buy a home and you voluntarily give up concessions, let's say I want to own this home, so I'm willing to give up Starbucks, or we're willing to go out to eat less. We want to do these things to own this house.
Right.
That's when home ownership's enjoyable. But when those concessions occur in the aftermath, I'm in a house now. Probably it sounds like that you guys were back when you decided hey, there's things that we can't do because of this horrendous payment to live in this property.
Right.
That's when it all goes away. The fun is gone at that point in time. So downsizing is a brilliant decision to bring your affordability back to make sure that
living within
you're
your means.
comfortable. Yes.
Yes.
Let's pretend that you're making me a graph about all the stuff that you're doing that qualifies as downsizing. We've got the living in the same room. What other practices?
That's not everybody though. But that's
Well,
just
yeah, and so we
parents.
always try to say, people come to us and they're like, hey, how do I, how to do this, or maybe I don't want to go that drastic or whatever, but, my biggest thing is, like, do what makes sense for your family, and this made sense for us. It was one of those things that we just realized, hey, we need to do this, and yeah, this home will always be there because it's paid for and it's on family land. But that doesn't mean that we will always be there. Maybe we'll travel at some point. Maybe we take the kids, we'll be gone for a year. Who knows what's going to happen? But, it's one of those things that, like, when somebody's asking me, I'm just basically saying, what makes sense for your family? Are you living in a 4,000 square foot house and you're doing okay, but, and maybe not even miserable. Maybe you're doing okay and you're perfectly fine with that, but there comes a level of stress and maintenance with that. And what if you went to 2,000 square foot? How much more could you experience life rather than just having a giant storage building, And that's kind of where we were, is like we're basically having this gigantic storage building because we couldn't even go do things because, well, one, we were accumulating way too much crap. I mean, there's so much to buy. And
that's hoarder heaven.
Yeah, I mean, and it's our house was not big. It was 1,800 square feet or 1,850 or something like that. So it was not a big house, but it was too much for us, and we just didn't know how to handle it, and we just, quite honestly needed to change. So, that's, some people want to upsize, some people want to downsize. Whatever makes sense for your family and whatever is, the least stressful way for you to go about it and to live within your means, then go for it.
Yeah, like I've always said, it comes down to lifestyle. What is your lifestyle?
Yeah.
And once you figure out what you want your lifestyle to be, then figure out what you want the place where your lifestyle happens to be, and that's your house.
That sounds like the right order. I mean, maybe people are doing it wrong. I mean, you want stuff. You want that house. You want that wife. You want that house. You want that lifestyle, and then it all falls down on you if you can't finance it. He's kind of going at it the realistic way, the way that's not going to backfire on him. I mean,
it's it's basically when we started going through the Dave Ramsey stuff, I realized it's not really Dave Ramsey stuff. It's really biblical, and it's basically just being good stewards with what we have. And I was never given a huge leg up in terms of like finances and that kind of thing, in terms of my business taking off when I was 20 years old or anything like that. And I'm kind of glad I wasn't, because I learned a lot along the way. And I'm still learning. We don't have this all figured out by any means, And that's the thing that gets me, is a lot of people like, well, you guys know what you're doing. You guys have this figured out. Well, no, I don't. I mean, I'm doing what works for me, and if you want to follow along, then fine. That's great. I'm happy to help you, but don't think that I've got all the answers. It's all in that book that I'm following. So,
does your wife, does she talk to folks about this too, like you do?
She does. Yeah, she's got some videos on there. We do some together. She's got a couple of her own. She actually is much more active on like Facebook than I am, and so she has a lot of people come to her and say, hey, help me with this, and then at that point she kind of kicks them over to me and is like, you help them because I don't really like talking to people.
So you're kind of human resources.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually have a video on there of her. There's one of her only ones that she's done talking about her social anxiety, which is why she's not here. And she came out with that and just kind of said, look, the reason I started making videos was because I wanted to talk to and see myself like in my closet and not share it with anybody. So we have probably, 15 or 20 videos of her just that no one will ever see, you know.
Now she lists minimalism as one of her
it is
top qualities. I mean, that's
everything is relative in terms like that, because I mean we follow some people on YouTube that like literally the lady has like 5 plates. I mean
wow.
I mean it's, and that's a minimalist term. I mean,
What's
and
wrong
it's
with that?
yeah, it's perfectly fine if you're going to do that. I don't have a problem with
Sure.
it. It just doesn't work for me, you know. And so like we say that mainly from a traffic standpoint, for one, because it's a keyword that people search for. But if you're looking at things relatively, like relatively speaking, in other countries we have a huge house. Relatively speaking, here we have a fairly small one. Like everything's
what's
all over
the
the
average
board.
size house that people are actually purchasing today?
In today's market, I'd say somewhere around 2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
You
small
look at
for
that,
here, but
yeah.
our video was worldwide.
Yeah.
We got people in the UK going, that's bigger than my place, and I got 4 kids.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
and it's true.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've watched House Hunters.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know. International House Hunters, they
Well,
little
you know
bitty places.
everything.
I
Then
know
you watch
everything.
House Hunters. That is
I
such a
know, right?
well, my
show.
wife does too. No, my wife loves all those shows. So I mean, if you guys ever decide to go that route, I mean, she'd watch your show too. We'd be sitting
Yeah.
there watching. I'd be going. I talked to them once. You'd be like, yeah, sure you did, honey.
Yeah, we
you
know
know.
Jared. Yeah,
You-
we go way back.
You should know that is 100% scripted, and that they never. Some of those houses they've actually never looked at when they made their buying
Oh,
decision.
that's House Hunter things? Is
Oh,
it
yeah.
really?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, well, I just really want to see the
They're
decor.
they're pure entertainment value. There's
Looks like I'm a
nothing
sucker.
realistic
Yeah,
about
I'm
it.
a
Great
Yeah.
for drama. It's great for
Right.
drama.
Well, yeah, there's some of those houses that I'm looking at going, how the heck could they afford that house?
Yeah.
It's like, right? Yeah.
Well, I now know why, because I thought you were in your 20s when you came in here. So and now I know why I thought so, because you have all this non-stress that you get to age at a lesser rate. That's
Maybe
I can
so. I
relate.
don't know.
I've been debt free since 2010.
There you
it's
go.
the most amazing feeling
It is.
ever.
It is.
and she
That's-
stopped aging when she was like 20.
Thank
so.
you.
There you go.
It's the liquid collagen I drink. That's all.
And the hair.
The liquid
Yeah,
collagen.
and I have really good hair today, y'all, even though it rained. Yeah.
That's funny.
So
No.
tell us,
you.
what does the floor plan look like? I mean, if it's 1,000 square feet, it's a bedroom. What?
Yeah, we got 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bath. We have 1 closet in the whole house that everyone shares, and I've got my second bath is actually have my laundry room as well, and it's just pretty much you walk in the front door, you're in the living room, and you see the kitchen right there, and it's not a big kitchen. It works for us, but I mean, quite honestly, I would rather have had a little bit larger kitchen, but it does work. And it's a custom build, but we used a lot of IKEA stuff in there, in terms of cabinets and that kind of thing. And then of course, I had the privilege of having my father-in-law and my dad help me a lot, and of course, he's a contractor, and my dad has done a lot of remodels in his houses. So it was just kind of, everybody kind of worked together and knocked it out, and it was.
Well, they both have a great eye for design,
That's awesome.
so it looks amazing.
So did you get to go tour it, Derek?
I have not toured it
You're
yet.
coming out
Jared,
tonight.
come
I'm coming out
on.
tonight.
I know.
Are you?
Well, because it's all online. I just
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I've been a horrible friend. I didn't even invite him after he got my life on the right track.
Right.
So.
So Derek was a huge help to you then.
He was, yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, Derek, it sounds like you're like going above and beyond with these guys. I mean, a lot of people I know just want to get out of the room as soon as the deal's done, but you kind of stay behind or come in early and make sure the job is done right. I mean, that's kudos for that.
For me, it's not about making a sale. It's about making a client, and then once you do that, then it's not. That's the best way to say it. I've made a friend, and I'm responsible for them, and they're responsible for me. I mean, that's kind of how it works out.
That's awesome. I mean,
And-
that's the way it should be. I mean,
And we become part of a community, and we're building. And that's my biggest thing is you're not selling houses, you're building communities, and you're not loaning
Right.
money for houses. You're putting people in those communities. So everything that we do in our industry needs to be looked at as the bigger impact that you're making on the community.
Right. Can you visualize a community of homes that are all like 1,000 square feet, that are metal buildings, and how much land are you on? You said
me and my in-laws share 4 acres, but the way it's positioned, it actually looks like a heck of a lot more because there's a lot of land behind us and a lot of land's on the side of us.
Yeah.
It's all accounted for. It's all owned by the people around us, but yeah, I don't anticipate it being like developed or anything because it's.
But wouldn't it be cool to kind of develop a community that has small, like not tiny
It's
house nation,
I've seen
but
it.
something similar to
I've
that?
seen it done online where they've got almost kind of like a bed and breakfast kind of setup thing, where it's not like a central house, but they've got kind of like essentially like a cul-de-sac sort of thing, and they've got kind of like little houses all around there, and you can go rent them or you can buy them or whatever, and
Or just
they're
stay
all
for the weekend, or
yeah, and I mean, I could totally see that happening,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of cities have done like container homes and that kind of stuff for homeless and that kind of stuff, where they
Container homes.
Shipping containers that they've converted.
Those are cool.
Yeah,
Oh, I think I've seen those. Those are cool.
I want one.
What's amazing is we have all of these different ways to get someone into a place to live, and we only usually think of one, and that is to find the 3 to 4 bedroom house that's already done and perfect and ready for you to move in, and then you spend more than you probably should on it, and you go through your life. And there's so many other ways to accomplish the same thing. Jared's journey took them down the path of becoming debt free and building a house that they felt comfortable in and functioned for them, and allowed them to declutter their lives, not just with things but with everything else that was going on, and gave them the freedom to live the life that they want to live and start exploring new options. You also have people who want to find that perfect house right now, and there's no way to find it with the inventory being as low as we are of existing homes. Like, I think we're still sitting at 2.5 months, maybe. Last time I looked.
Yeah, some areas are even lower.
So what that means is a balanced market means that there would be 6 months supply worth of homes available for sale. And what that would basically mean is if you set up a store and you put homes on a shelf, after 6 months the shelves would be empty. There'd be no homes for sale. That's
Based upon the current amount of buyers in the marketplace.
right.
Wow.
So that's a balanced market. We're sitting in a 2.5 month supply, which is a very, very deep seller's market. And so that makes it difficult to find homes because we don't have very many for sale. A lot of reasons for that, as far as pre-existing homes or even regular homes. There's a lot of reasons for that. Another major reason is that the boomers aren't downsizing. It's caused a chink in the chain of the real estate cycle.
Right.
We have land values have gone up. It's made it difficult to build more affordable houses, and
Construction cost.
construction costs have gone up. The actual regular average build in Johnson County now is somewhere around $250 because the price of land's gone up so much.
Wow.
And that is not a first-time buyer home yet because I don't remember how many years has it been since we've seen a substantial increase in wages.
We haven't seen any in 8 years.
Okay, yeah, it's
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So-
Median income has been stagnant for 8 years. It's
That's
just
unfortunate.
sat there. Yeah.
but we've seen housing prices go up,
Right.
up every year, and so we've caused this gap. So how do you bridge that gap? And one of the ways to do that was what Jared did. It's a great, wonderful way. If you're looking for another way and you'll be willing to settle for something smaller, there are the houses that are for sale. There are a lot of them, and they're just not the prettiest houses right now. So you look at those and, well, I don't want to buy an ugly house. That's what that guy on the internet does. He buys ugly houses, not me. But what you can do,
They're called fixer-uppers.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
you can renovate, and a lot of people haven't thought about that, except for the Gaines couple out in
Yeah.
Waco. They've kind of thought about that a little bit.
Right.
yeah, a little bit.
But there are some great ways you can do that here, and so we've got partnerships with people that can help you design, re-renovate, and then Patrick has a plan for someone who's looking to do that exactly. They can put together a bridge loan
To cover construction costs, to rehab the property, to bring it up to whatever standard you want it to look like.
and then when you're done, you've got the house that you always dreamed about. And a lot of times you're actually going to get in there a little bit less expensive than you would if you competed over that house that was already perfect. So that means two things. Buyers, if you're willing to work for it and wait for it, you can still get a good deal in this market. Just be sure that you're involved with someone that you trust that can help you walk through the process.
Right.
And sellers, if you want to get the most money for your house, make it perfect. I mean, you're going to get in a bidding war and your house will be sold. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people think that they can just stick their house on the market and sell it in 10 minutes, even by doing nothing, and it has all these problems with it. And there are a lot of people, a lot of even agents who will say, just give me the listing, I'll get it sold.
Right.
Well, I've run across those. Why hasn't my home sold yet? It's been 60 days. That's really, and the average time on market around here is less than 30.
Wow.
So
Is that due to the fact that the real estate agent isn't doing what they say they're going to, or is it?
I think
What's
it's
the problem there?
well. So we're all there's a lot of real estate agents in this world today. There's more than there's ever been. The ability to get a real estate license, it's actually easier than it's almost ever been.
Right.
They've decreased some of the requirements to become a licensed real estate agent and increased the requirements to become a licensed real estate broker. And so they put the responsibility of training the agents on the brokers. But you have a lot of brand new people who have gotten into it. And so, as a matter of fact, you have to do more education to become a licensed fingernail technician to do, acrylic nails than you do to be a real estate agent.
Really?
Yeah.
So I could even do it.
Oh, you'd be great at it, first of all. I'll tell you that right
That's
now.
what they thought when they were
So
downsizing.
kidding.
Now even Connie can do it. They didn't even know Connie. They
That'd
just,
be
the thought came to
awesome.
them.
But you also have to realize that the average real estate agent makes less than $30,000 a year.
Right.
And
Why be a real estate agent if you're going to not be obscenely rich? I don't know. I just
it's okay. Here's
Well,
the
it's
deal.
really competitive out there too.
Yeah, so big brokerages, the biggest brokerages in the world sell the dream, right? You get to live the real estate lifestyle, and they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents,
Right.
and those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agents sell 10, 15 houses a year maybe, and that's where the broker makes their money
Right.
off volume of the number of agents. Other brokerages look to hire people who have been doing it for a long time and are successful at what they do, and are kind of picky about who they hire.
Right.
It all depends upon who the broker is and how comfortable you are with them. But I guess what I'm trying to say is you're going to run across people who aren't quite as experienced as others. You're going to run into a situation where you've got 4 or 5 agents begging for your listings right now, and they'll do it because it's that kind of market. It's a seller's market, so we need the listings.
Right.
You're in the driver's seat, sellers. You're in the driver's seat on who you hire. So but one thing you should do is ask questions, put together a list of interview questions, and interview these people. Take your time. Hire slow, fire fast.
There you
That's the best way I think
So,
about
Jared, what made you hire Derek?
Well, we had a different.
The truth comes out.
No. This is good. We had a different agent that before I knew Derek that helped us buy our house, and I didn't have a very. Wasn't that it wasn't a good experience. I felt that I wasn't very well educated in it, and
You weren't?
yeah, I wasn't.
Okay.
And I feel like maybe some things weren't communicated to me, but as I learned more about finances and how this kind of stuff works, I had run into Derek and met him and stuff, and so it just really, I guess I knew how his kind of heart for it, and I knew that he was really invested in it and wanted to do it and wanted to help, and it wasn't about making some money, so that was really my decision there. Rachel and I talked about it, and we actually know a lot of real estate agents, and it's one of those things that I think most people just kind of say, well, I know this person, or my mom knows this person, or whatever, and you're talking about probably your biggest asset in your entire life,
Right.
and you're throwing it in the hands of somebody that kind of sort of knows what they're doing.
Right.
So
And that's one of the most
Yeah.
stressful times in your life too, is either buying or selling a house,
Yeah.
right? So
It
yeah.
can be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, but it can
Right.
be.
Well,
Real
it
estate
was-
agents are like that Kevin Bacon theme. Like, you can associate every single actor with a movie with Kevin
Right,
Bacon.
right.
That's what the real estate community is. All of a sudden they come out of the woodwork. Hey, our cousins, uncles, brothers, sisters, real estate agent or somebody at church or
Just give them a chance.
And I feel like I feel like they
Kevin
think that
Baconism.
like you should give them a chance or something to like play with your money.
with your life.
Yeah, I just really don't
That's
get that,
huge.
and it's
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know, I've heard of that. You know, my Uncle Chuck, you
Yeah.
give him a chance.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why? I mean,
he really needs this. Well,
you give him a chance. You know, I mean,
sell your house then, right?
I'm
Uncle Chuck's got a car payment. Help him out. Put your financial life in his hands. It's okay.
Exactly.
well, let me ask you. You know, your kids. I'm assuming by the time your kids are 18, the college is still going to be in existence, and you're going to send them to it. College loans, stuff like that. Do you have a plan for that?
They've actually already got investments that we're putting back for them, so hopefully we'll at least give them a leg up. And
what is it? The Texas something plan?
well, they actually have. We've got mutual funds set up for them.
Okay, so
we actually have a financial planner that works with us on that
cool.
kind of stuff.
So no college loans then. So
well, I hope not. I mean,
because you don't want to go right back into debt.
Yeah, no. My plan is to slowly start in introducing them into Dave Ramsey's world, so that they can start kind of understanding how all this stuff works. And we've worked with our oldest a little bit on it. He's just really not. He's a little more immature than other kids his age but he's also not in public school, so there's a big difference there where he's pretty much home or church or with us, you know. So we have a little bit more play there in terms of his maturity. So we're going to work with him. We are working with him on, you know, how you don't just get money, you have to work for it, and like money doesn't just come freely, you know.
But
it's got to come from somewhere.
Because one day they're going to go to college orientation, and there's going to be 5 credit card companies wanting to give an 18-year-old a credit card without a job.
Well, by that point, 20 or 40 of them.
Oh man, it's insane.
Quite a
So
few.
So scary. Yeah.
yeah, he's well aware that we don't finance anything. So
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, and so your kids are getting a superior view of the math world through their parents. I mean, you're dealing with realities with them.
Yeah.
You don't sugarcoat it. I mean, I don't know how you sugarcoat math. That's what came out of my mouth. Anyway, but
well, you can, because like I wasn't taught actual finances in school. Like I didn't have a clue how any of that stuff worked.
No.
I mean, so you
And
could
you got
go
to take it with a grain of salt too, because with as many people who are upset at him about his situation,
Yeah.
his isn't near as dramatic as the 10 million people that lost their homes in 2008.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I mean, there's pick which one of your situations you want to be in, and he's decided to pick a situation. I'm not ever going to be in that mold ever again.
Right.
So they're both smart.
well, okay, I'll give you a really vague example of what I'm talking about. I would not know my multiplication tables if my dad hadn't sat me down every night and gone over it with
Right.
me. The fact that it's dad teaching them, mom teaching them, I mean, there's some serious ground that they're going to gain that other kids won't. I mean, look what adversity did for you. You're where you are now because, so I guess what I'm saying is that you take that and you go, whatever financial state the world is in when they're, in college, they're going to really have a leg up on that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. It's everyone has their view of homeschool. Unfortunately, here in Texas, we have pretty lenient laws on that kind of stuff, so we're able to kind of do things the way we want. And I think that's our biggest thing is we really want to teach them life skills, and so I think that those are far more important than all of the tiny little details that
Because all that algebra they use whenever they're 30.
yeah.
Yep.
Everyone has the math jokes about algebra,
Still
so
trying to figure out that formula.
yeah. I mean, like I said, everyone's got their opinion of it. We just kind of do what works for us, and I think, and I'm really proud of where my son is. Well, both of ours actually. I think that they're getting a good education, and I feel like as long as it's something that I'm proud of, then that's okay. So.
Yeah, and all the memories that you're creating because
Yeah.
you do have more time, right?
Yeah, we do. We definitely have more time. The past few months have been a little different because I've had a contract at an agency that I've been working at more hours than usual. But yeah, absolutely. Overall, having right before here, we actually went and saw a movie just because I was like, well, I'll stop work at noon, come home, have lunch, and then we'll go to the movies before I do this thing. So it's a different lifestyle, and that's the way
cool.
they've grown up. And yeah, it's funny because I've had this contract in Fort Worth where I'm gone for 2 days a week at the office, and I leave before they wake up, and I get home at 6 o'clock at night. And like the first week I was gone, they're like, "God, you've been gone forever," you know. And I'm like, you do know that people do this every day, like all the time, you know. Like some kids only see their dad on Saturday and Sunday, you know.
Right.
And I just said you don't understand because you've never been on the other side of it, you know.
But it's a good problem to
So
have.
it is, and I love spending time with my family. So
What movie did you see?
The Star.
Not Justice League? What's wrong with you? I'm just
Star?
kidding.
I took, yeah, come on. No, The Star. It was actually a really good movie. I was really impressed with it. It was not, even though it's a very biblical movie for Christmas, it was not corny. So.
Well, one last question for me. When you...
Because you have so many.
I do have so many. When you invest all this good energy into your kids that you're saving and stress and all that, I mean, do you find, is it just kind of self-renewing when you're with your kids, like you're helping teach them when you're home, you're helping your wife? I mean, is it, you know, some folks could find that draining, but you don't sound like it's draining you at all.
Well, it is. I mean, in some ways it is draining. I mean, it's, you know, raising kids, especially the two older ones are boys and they're just boys, you know. You know, it's tough, and it's tough on my wife being home with them a lot, you know, especially the last couple months, you know, just a change of pace for us. It's not easy. I mean, I don't think there's any part of life that's really easy, and definitely not any part of parenting that's easy. But fulfilling wise, yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, there's, even if I am stressed, I'd rather be stressed there than anywhere else. So
Fair enough.
That's awesome.
Very much so.
I think there's a fantastic takeaway that you can pay off $32,000,
mm-hmm.
36,000, something close to that.
32 and 14 months is what it amounted to. So.
That's unbelievable.
Awesome.
So when you sit back in your chair and you think there's no way I can ever get out from underneath this is a walking, talking example right here.
Oh,
Or get out from underneath this man.
yeah,
Yes.
go
Yeah.
listen to Dave Ramsey and just, I mean, soak up what he has. I
That's
mean,
what we did too.
it's solid information, you know, and actually go to a class where you're like, you know, with other people that are digging out of this stuff. And
Right.
I mean, even if you're going to dig out so that you can go purchase the house that you want and that's the only debt you got. I mean, he actually teaches that, you know, the house debt is not considered a debt to him. I mean, he
Right.
doesn't have any, but there's a lot of people that, I mean, if they're making, you know, they're bringing in $5,000 or $6,000 a month and a $1,200-$1,500 house payment, it's not a big deal, you know.
But just make sure when you buy the house, you can furnish the house, right?
Yes.
My
Furniture
husband
is-
goes into a lot of new builds, and he's seen so many beautiful homes, and you walk in, there's no furniture.
Yeah.
So cinder blocks and
Yeah.
plywood, that doesn't work as a coffee
does
table
not
anymore?
count. No.
Yeah.
And bean bags do not count either.
Lawn
So,
chairs.
Yeah, lawn
I don't
chairs.
know. I think you furnish it as you go. I think you buy the house you want and then you buy the furniture to go with it. That's the way I want to do it because
Okay.
I'm more of a minimalist.
Yeah,
My wife has the complete opposite opinion.
yeah.
She seems to want the house, then just fill it up with, you know,
With love?
with love. Yes, she fills it
The
up with
love
love.
of fabrics and
She-
textures, yeah.
She likes to have, something in every part of the house, and she's
Yeah.
great, and it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but I seriously, when we got married, I got nervous
Mm-hmm.
when I realized that I had more stuff than would fit in the back of my pickup, because I was proud of that. That was my thing. I wanted.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I was a Boy Scout and I camped a lot and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So if I had too much stuff, I had to carry it.
Right.
Or stick it in the canoe, and then I didn't want the canoe to get too heavy because then I had to row it too. So anyway, yeah, I like less stuff, but I would live in a very minimalist house.
Mm-hmm.
If I lived by myself, I'd be probably really sad, little empty
Your
place.
Your
Yeah.
card table.
Thank God I have my wife.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fun, Jared. Thank you for coming
Yes,
on,
it really has.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
and Ben and Connie for being here.
Very
Happy to
much.
help.
Appreciate you guys
Yeah.
being here. You guys got you getting ready for the holidays, getting the show ready. I see you're
Oh
doing
my
a lot of
God.
recording
That's
coming up.
next week.
Yeah, actually,
It is.
yeah.
There's no recording.
We were going to do that, but then Connie, she's going to be taking care of her grandson all this week, so we kind of had to scale that back. So we're going to be doing some reruns, but we do have some cool stuff coming up on tomorrow. Do you guys remember Mike Snyder from the news?
I do. Am
Decades
I gonna
and
miss
decades.
him?
Well, he's running
yes.
for Tarrant County Tax Assessor Collector now. I guess he got the itch to get back in public life, so he's going to be on the show tomorrow talking about that. So it's an honor to meet him as a journalist. He's a legend, and so having him on the show tomorrow is pretty awesome.
That's
So,
neat.
yeah, and
I'll miss it. But that's okay. I'll be here in spirit.
I know you're going to be gone.
All right.
Anyway.
Speaking of people being on the show, Stephanie Cornish says, hello, Jared.
Oh, hey, Stephanie.
So thanks for tuning in, Stephanie.
Yeah, she's a
This
good
is
friend
such
of
an
ours.
informative show. And I know we're going to get
Yeah,
on
I was
here in a
gonna-
minute, but I have a question.
Okay.
So, Patrick, you said when people come into your place and they say, what do I qualify for? What's the most I qualify for? Are people really hitting the ceiling on what they qualify for? Or are they...
Not with our team.
Okay, because you advise them not to do that.
Well, it goes back to 71% of the clients that our team was blessed to represent this year could actually qualify for more than what they physically wanted to afford. You know, and we just had a consultation today in regards with some consumers about the one part about a mortgage that you don't get involved in is we use gross income. Okay, there's nobody that's sitting here, nobody that's listening puts their gross income in their bank account each month.
Right.
So that's a pretty dangerous place to start. And the other place where mortgage companies, we only focus on credit debt, house payments, car loans, credit cards, things of that nature. But we don't get to see the personal side of somebody's financial life, meaning what do they pay in groceries, how many vacations do they like to take, what do they like to put in savings each month.
Right.
You know, they have all these, different costs that are put aside. And a mortgage company never gets to be a part of that cost. So when you ask us as the mortgage industry, what do I qualify for? It's a dangerous game to play because there's this whole other amount of fees or amount of expenses that you have. When they don't get introduced, you know those better than anybody else.
Right.
So the proper way of handling this is kind of what everybody does is like, what is the max you can pay? So if you had to write a check every single month to live comfortably, happy with your family, what's the maximum amount that check needs to look like? So once you have that dollar amount plus what you have to invest into the property, that's when you can assess, okay, to meet these financial goals, don't go over this sales price right here. You're done, you're finished from that point. If you get into the marketplace and see that this sales price range is not going to work, let us know. We'll let you know what those numbers are. Then you decide if those numbers are accommodative or not. So that's the best way to approach it is you know your finances better than anybody you're going to talk to on the mortgage side.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to say, you could go out and qualify for $700,000 right now, and then I don't know anyone who's actually going to go out there and buy a $700,000 house right now.
Thank goodness.
So and then they don't, and then the worst time to find out what your payment's going to be is when you get to the closing table, right? So,
Right.
and there's disclosures and stuff that prevent you from doing that. But working with Patrick's team, you're going to get a bit of advice right up front about this is your lifestyle. How do you want your life to live? How are you going to live within the house that you're buying and within the budget that you have?
So y'all are really like the voice of reason.
We try to be.
Even though you really want this house, what are you comfortable with?
And that's what we tell them is our job is to provide you with the numbers that you need to make an educated decision for you. We're not here to say, hey, you can go buy $325,000 and this is what everything's going to look like and these big surprises. Because like Derek's talking about is the worst time to figure it out is when you're already in it.
Right.
And then you have to make those concessions. So, the most important part of it is finding that affordability front and having somebody that doesn't push you to the edge.
Right.
And because there's a lot of people that'll push you to the edge.
And for every person, that number's different,
Yep.
Yeah.
So they could have the same income and the same debt and everything else, but that something's different about that. So keep track. We're going to be doing this again next Tuesday, which is
Day after Christmas.
day after Christmas. We're still working on a guest, so if you have someone that you know in the real estate world that would like to come out, do it. If not, we may do a rerun because it's the day after Christmas, so that would be interesting. But listen, we got some pretty exciting guests coming up.
I'll always be your guest.
Will you? I love that. So I've got Robert Gleason, the CEO of the Greater Fort Worth Association of Realtors, going to be on the show with us sometime next month. And we have Dr. Brett Jimerson from the Burleson ISD. He's a superintendent. He's going to come talk about why Burleson's such a great place to live and how that does affect schools and the real estate market in Burleson. So I'm pretty excited.
How'd you land him? I've been on there. I had a waiting pending invitation to my show.
Jealous?
I am jealous.
It sounds like Ben's going to be at our show on that one.
Yeah, well, I've had him on my show a few times. They're like, well, we'll wait till after the holidays. But apparently you got a lock on it. That's
Well, I
go,
got lucky.
Garrett.
I must have caught him at the right time. He's very generous with his time, and he's
Oh, he
super,
is.
super
He is.
busy.
I was one of his intermediaries that I was going through. So.
I think
so we'll fight about it later.
he took a
I'm not fighting. I'm just.
my oldest daughter's. I think he took a special liking to her, and he's followed her through school quite a bit, and so
Sorry.
he's got a special place in our heart, and I think Abby has a special place in his, and so I get to just kind of ride her coattails on that
Yeah.
When will that be?
one. We're finalizing the date, but it'll be sometime in January.
Would you mind if I tagged along?
I don't mind at all. It'd
Okay,
be great.
cool. Well, I'm just saying, I might as well at least be in the same room with him. You know.
It's like I want to be a part of that.
He's pretty. Yeah, he's
That's
a pretty
awesome.
energetic guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's no actually.
If you arm wrestle him, you can be on the show twice.
Yeah, he's been on one incarnation of the show or another back when I was with the paper. But since I left the paper, I found it kind of hard to sync up. So I'll just sync up with y'all there. So
I was thinking about just trying to catch him at the gym, but I can't keep up with him. So
those guns.
yeah, he's a beast.
Awesome. Well, follow everybody. Jared, follow it. We need to all follow Jared on YouTube.
I know.
That's awesome.
I hadn't quite
Love
gotten
it.
there yet, so I
Yeah.
wanted to give you the final place. First of all, what's the thing that everyone says? Like, share, and
Like, share, and comment.
like, share, and comment. Yeah.
There you go.
Latigo Life. So tell them about it.
Yeah, well, latigolife.com is our website where we've got a blog there that my wife works on periodically. It's got a lot of history there in terms of our journey. And then there's also a link over to my business and marketing consulting stuff there. And, of course, you can get the YouTube from there, which is Latigo Life on YouTube. So that's kind of our little hub that we've got
And it's
online.
really cool. I watched several of the videos. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
thanks,
go
man. I
watch
really
it.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it looks amazing, and there's great stuff in there, and I'm definitely going to want to be taking notes
Because you're gonna be a YouTube star.
Yeah, that too. But I was thinking I want to be debt free too.
Oh.
So it's usually my music.
Well, you can talk to my wife about that. I'm not very good at lining people out with it, so. Look, here's how you can spend all of your money.
Yeah, it's wow.
Let's.
It's a
I
good
guess
balance.
That takes us out. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
And to all a good night.
That's right. Appreciate y'all.
Have a good day, everyone.
We appreciate you. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks,
All right,
Derek.
we're
Appreciate it.
out.
All right.
Bye, Facebook.
Bye, Facebook.